Doctor Who, The Evil of the Daleks, the seventh story of the second Doctor. It's written by David Whitaker and starring Patrick Trouten, Fraser Hines and Deborah Wattling. So originally this was going to be the last time the Doctor fighting the Daleks. Terry Nation was going to sell them to Americans to give them farewell. However, they came back in Day of the Daleks, John Pertwee's era. This is also the introduction of Deborah Wattling as Victoria Waterfield and the Dalek Emperor. So all 7 parts were sadly lost, but part 2 was found at a car boot sale and returned to archive in May 1987. As they analysed the clip from The Wheel in Space, they thought it was part 1 for quite a while. However, part 1 came with telesnaps and survived footages, the behind-the-scenes film called The Last Dalek, made by the special effects team while working on story's conclusion and making an easier way to recreate the climatic battle scenes along with the entire film. They were available in different forms. Fans reconstructed telesnap in part 7 to give us an idea on what it's been like. So eventually the animation came out on DVD 27th of September 2021, the day before my 23rd birthday, which is a nice surprise for me. So the serial begins at Gatwick Airport, and after saying goodbye to Ben and Polly, the Doctor and Jaime sees the TARDIS getting taken away, so they chased it and lost it, so they questioned Bob Hall about where the TARDIS is going, and it was taken by someone called J. Smith. So after getting not much luck, Kennedy reports to his boss, Edward Waterfield. Perry seems to be fascinated by the Victorian clock and discussing about the police box. So after a brief fight between Kennedy and Bob gets knocked out and Ken sneaked out. The Doctor and Jaime went to see if he was alright. So after the Doctor and Jaime got locked up and got themselves free, they see something going on with the matches, because of which cigarettes had been pulled out. And of course Jaime doesn't know what the train is, as the noise freaked him out. Edward decided to get Perry to invite the Doctor while Ken was trying to see what was going on. Perry invited the Doctor and Jaime while having a coffee. As Ken is searching around the secret room, we get an epic, scary, fantastic cliffhanger when the Dalek appeared, asking Ken who he is. And this is where you don't want to mess with the Dalek or disobey them. As Ken tried to run but got exterminated, it'll be the end of you.
Who are you?
As the Doctor and Jaime goes into the antique shop, I love the clock ticking sounds in there. It reminds me of the opening scene in the first Back to the Future film, with all the clock ticking, great vibes. Pretty amusing when the Doctor said boo to Perry. Jack Waterfield understandably was really shocked about Ken's body, but Dalek just doesn't care about life unless they're Daleks.
It matters. Dalek life. Obey your orders, Waterfield.
So as the Doctor, Jaime and Perry go into the office, they found Ken's body and realise he's dead. As Perry tries to phone the police, there was a white noise in the receiver, so he goes out to fetch the police. So the Doctor and Jaime, after found a piece of photo of the Doctor, found a way to get themselves into the control room while being spied on by Edward. Jaime opened the box with a knockout gas inside it, so they fell asleep, and Edward teleported them into Mansion in 1866. The Doctor and Jaime woke up like as they had a hangover or something, as the Doctor is asking Molly, a maid, what the date it is, but got interrupted by Theodore Baxtabal and Edward Waterfield. So he explained what the date it is. The Doctor is questioning them about the time travel, stealing the TARDIS, and who's they. Edward begs the Doctor to help his daughter Victoria, who looks like her mum, quite uncanny. In the cell, Daleks ranted at Victoria for feeding the birds instead of herself and ordered her inside the machine. Oh god. The Doctor, Waterfield and Baxtabal went in the lab. The Doctor tries to get them to explain who they are, and the Dalek walked in. Great entrance there.
What are they called, these creatures?
Doctor!
When I watched it with my friend, he actually jumped because he didn't actually expect it, and well, he didn't go behind the sofa. Yeah. The Dalek wanted the Doctor to help them for experiment and wanted Jaime for testing. Meanwhile, Toby knocks Jaime out and took him away, which freaks Molly out. The Doctor was there to warn Jaime but couldn't find him. The Daleks confirmed there will be no delays for experiment. Jaime found himself in the barn with Toby, and then Arthur came in fighting over payment. So he sent Toby away, then there was a buzzing noise and seems to forget that he sent Toby away. He was asking Jaime where Victoria is, and then after that, buzzing noise again, he said Victoria was in Paris. As he left, the doctor came in. Meanwhile, Dalek moved Victoria into another room and told her not to be afraid as she won't get exterminated, thank God. Baxtabal tells Kemal that Jaime is an enemy and that he must be stopped. It's pretty cool in the testing scene where Kemal bent the pole and punched a wooden plank. So back in the living room, Jaime sees Arthur again and gets in the habit of forgiving him. The Doctor and Jaime has a fallout because Jaime is confused with the Doctor's behaviour, and the Doctor says there's Dalek in the house when he hasn't seen any. I didn't expect for this to happen. I didn't think Jaime and the Doctor would fall out. But then again, best friends do, so Jaime left and getting told not to try to save Victoria. While Toby gets exterminated by the Daleks, Molly showed Jaime through the secret passage. As he came into South Wing, there is Kemal standing there, pretty intense because he looks really hard. So we get an awesome fight scene between Jaime and Kemal, but after falling off the roof, Jaime uses a rope to save Kemal. So as Jaime is in Victoria's old room, Kemal pushed him over and continued to move while being watched by a Dalek. Throughout part 4, the Doctor is using controls updating Jaime's doings. That was pre-filmed and scenes got edited into this part because Patrick Trouten was on holiday. Jaime became friends with Kemal. He doesn't say anything, but he writes his name. The handkerchief is found lying around with VW on it. Apparently Kemal likes Victoria, so they both teamed up to rescue Victoria. As Toby's body is discovered by Waterfield and Baxtabal, they covered him up and dumped him in the barn while being watched by Arthur. Edward Waterfield understandably was pretty upset about it and still wanting to see his daughter again. Poor guy. Patrick Trouten is brilliant as the second Doctor, more than words can say. Absolute 100% amazing. Fraser Hines is great as Jamie McCrimmon. He has an argument with the Doctor, then forgive each other in the end, and that can happen to everybody. Deborah Wattling is Victoria Waterfield, who's from the Victorian times and gets kidnapped by the Daleks. She later became a companion after her father is killed. Great character development. Originally they were going to have Pauline Collins as Samantha Briggs, who appeared in the previous story, The Faceless Ones, to be the next companion, but created Victoria as a backup. Pauline didn't want to, so they got Denise Buckley to play the part, but for some reason she didn't get it, so Deborah replaced her because she's more suitable, and the character is supposed to be 14 or 15 years old when she joined the Doctor and Jaime. Dalek Emperor is the ruler of Dalek Empire, and this one is called Dalek Prime, the first and the longest Dalek Emperor. Fantastic design. It's well done for the low budget series. Love to see more of the Dalek Emperor. Daleks again are fantastic design, love them. I do love Alpha, Beta and Omega, the friendly Daleks with human factor, they're pretty amusing. John Bailey played Edward Waterfield, who's a scientist and Victoria's father. Sadly, Victoria's mum died 3 years before the Evil of the Daleks event. He has to do what the Daleks wanted in order to see his daughter again, which is a great development for the character. Maris Goring played Theodore Maxtabal, who's a businessman working for the Daleks, great villain. Sonny Kuldenas played Kemal, a Turkish wrestler who was hired by Maxtabal to stop Jaime. Getting off in the wrong foot, but then him and Jaime are friends and he likes Victoria. He's pretty badass. I love the character, it's a shame they killed him off in the end. Gary Watson played Arthur Terrell, who's controlled by the Daleks invading Maxtabal's home. He also fights in the Crimean War. Joe Rowbottom played Molly Dawson, a likeable maid who sadly got mistreated by Arthur. Bridget Forsyth played Ruth Baxtabal, who's Arthur's fiancée and Theodore's daughter. Winster Davis played Toby, who's a thug and kidnapped Jaime, ordered by Arthur while being mind-controlled. Jeffrey Colville played Keith Perry, who works in an antique shop in 20th century, and Edward Waterfield's assistant. Griffith Davis played Kennedy, who works for Edward Waterfield, and his curiosity to Waterfield's plans lead him to get exterminated. Alec Ross played Bob Hall, who also works for Waterfield, planning to turn the Doctor and Jaime over to the Daleks. The cast did an incredible job. The sets and effects, as far as I've seen on the survived footages and photos, is nicely done. The animation is great as well. I do love the music by Dudley Simpson, especially when it goes doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. What a tune, so epic. So twice in part 4, Victoria stands at the landing telling a Dalek her name, and the inspection ends, and she gets told to go back into her room. It was another pre-filmed edited in this part because Deborah Wattling was on holiday as well. And is it just me, or does that music sound a bit like an old Emmerdale theme tune?
She's very beautiful, Camel.
Crazy how it sounded like. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Baxtabal was about to shoot Waterfield, but luckily Arthur stopped him, so he later found Molly lurking at the fireplace as she heard Victoria's voice, even though she thinks Victoria's in Paris. And my god, the way Arthur treated Molly is brutal. So Ruth came in and going easy on Molly and gave her sympathy, which I'm glad she did. Arthur can't go anywhere at the moment. So Baxtabal talks to a Dalek saying they understand each other. Yeah, right. Ruth came in wondering where Victoria is, but Baxtabal said piece of ordinary metal of very little value. It's known to the ancient alchemists. Some say that the secret never existed, but there's still search going on, which is pretty interesting. It's a fantastic scene where Jaime and Kemmel pushed a Dalek into the fireplace with a rope and got smashed. The bit where Jaime and Kemmel are on the landing and the Dalek is moving behind them, I was like, whoa! It looks like Jaime and Kemmel are screwed. Well, actually they ducked and threw the Dalek off the balcony, so as the alarm set off, Jaime and Kemmel went in the room where Victoria is and barricaded themselves in. The Doctor suspecting that Arthur is working for the Daleks. Victoria doesn't seem to remember much, but we learn that Molly has been hypnotised by Baxtabal, which must have happened to Victoria. While the Dalek is breaking in, Arthur got in from the secret passage, kept trying to kidnap Victoria, but she does a great stunt. As Jaime and Kemmel tries to find Victoria, we get a great sword fight scene between Jaime and Arthur. So Ruth came in, which upset her, so after the unsettling voices in Arthur's head, he passed out. The Doctor came and told Ruth and Molly to take Arthur as far away as possible. He also found a black box. Meanwhile, Kemmel finds Victoria unconscious in the lab. The Dalek came in and ordered Kemmel to take Victoria into the time travel cabinet. The Doctor and Jaime in the lab still has an argument, and apparently the three Daleks saw the experiment as they have human factor. And I find it hilarious when they're like children and decide to play a game with the Doctor like trains.
It's a game, Jamie! They're playing a game! Look, they're all joining in! They're playing trains!
And there's Baxtabal being like, very amusing. The fact they play trains in circles, the Doctor gave them names, Alpha, Beta and Omega. Imagine having a pet Dalek. It's so funny. Absolutely bizarre. So they got taken to Skaro since the experiment is done. Meanwhile, Edward Waterfield confronts Baxtabal on Victoria's whereabouts. So they both have a fight. Baxtabal knocks Waterfield out. Daleks decided to blow the lab up, and Baxtabal didn't want it because it makes the secret useless. As the Doctor, Jaime and Waterfield are in the lab about to explode, they teleport themselves just in time and arrived on Skaro. Victoria and Kemmel are locked up in the Dalek cell with Baxtabal confront the Daleks, but something happened to him, but he seems alright, with his agony scream. Then so-called Omega came to the Doctor and asked them to follow it. The Doctor sees a marking and pushed the fake Omega down the cliff after a Dalek spotted a marking on the Dalek. Victoria ranted at Baxtabal because he twisted her arm and forcing her to scream because it was the Doctor's bait. So the Doctor, Jaime and Waterfield got brought in the room where the Dalek Emperor is. What a voice, it's so terrifying. And the TARDIS is there. Dalek Emperor ordered the Doctor to implant Dalek Factor on humans on Earth. So the door at the cell is covered in barrier and Baxtabal is possessed by it. The Doctor acted like he's possessed, but the reason why he didn't, because he's not from Earth. So the Doctor puts a dose into a keypad. So Jaime, Kemmel and Victoria got out of there, and Edward Waterfield went with the Doctor. Because one of those experiment Daleks questioned the Black Dalek and refused to obey, it got exterminated. get great battle scenes. Sadly, Edward Waterfield dies as he got in the way of the extermination to save the Doctor. He convinces a human factor Dalek to destroy the Emperor because, well, Emperor doesn't like questions. So we get incredible fight scenes, Emperor Dalek gets destroyed, and it does seem like it's the end of the Daleks forever. But I'm glad that's not the case, because we love the Daleks, and they're one of the most iconic things in Doctor Who. As Jaime, Victoria and Kemmel are at the cliff, Baxtabal came, and it's really scary the way he attacks Kemmel and kept saying, "Kill, kill, 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 kill." So he threw Kemmel down the cliff, fell to his death. So he left and probably died in the destruction. The Doctor arrived and assumed that the Daleks have come to an end. The Doctor and Jaime decide to take Victoria with them, which is a nice invite. Plus, one of the Daleks seemed to be alive, which is a great setup, which I'm guessing that's Alpha, as they later appeared in Children of the Revolution comic. I love to see Alpha make a return. So, that's the evil of the Daleks, and this is a fantastic story. I really love it. It's really epic and a lot of stuff going on there. Easily one of my top 5 favourite Patrick Trouten stories. And this is the last Season 4 story. What did you think of the evil of the Daleks and Season 4? As of time of recording, the only Season 4 serials to do is The Smugglers, The Highlanders and The Underwater Menace, but I can't do them until they're found or animated, as I heard rumours about the end of Doctor Who animation, which I hope that is not true, because I would love to see the rest of the stories and talk about them. I also heard rumours that few of them have been found, which I hope that's true. Fingers crossed. Thanks people as always for watching, and see you in the next video.